We have no choice to say, okay, we see what we have. So where are we? Where are we when it comes to this 5-year plan? And this is what I absolutely love. Because when I knew when the front office brought Tom Thibodeau on, this is what I imagined the conversation was going to be. All right, Tom, listen, your first year, we're going to let you come in. We're going to let you look at the team. This is the evaluation period. Everybody is going to have a clean slate. Many of the players that we give you to start this first season with, they're going to be well aware that they have just as good of a shot as anybody to make this team and be part of the future. But you earn your minutes. And that's what he told the players. He said, listen, you'll play everybody. If you get minutes, you earn them. So everybody was going at each other. We know Nerlens Noel came in. He said, listen, I see young fella. I see Mitchell Robinson. He's impressive. But I do the same thing that he does. And I have experience. So I think I'm going to compete for that starting position. So everybody was going at it. And that's the reason why we overachieved in that first year. Because everybody was battling and making each other better. So we rode that ship as far as we could take it. But that team had very minimal talent. They were just going off of the strength of new coach. Everybody wanted to impress this new coach, and nobody wanted to let this new coach down. And everybody wanted to play. And that brought up a heightened level of competition that's been missing kind of the last 2 seasons. All right? But that was the first year. You come in and you evaluate. And then the front office will tell Tom Thibodeau the second year, we'll determine who goes. So we're going to move some pieces out and we're going to play with and see who we could bring in. Now, the front office didn't expect Tom Thibodeau to turn everything around so fast. Coach of the year in the first year, come on. But what they did was they were feeling themselves, and without getting on the same page as their coach, they pulled Alfred Payton and UNC Bullock. They pulled them out. Defense, but was giving us nothing offensively at the number 1 and number 2. So teams were playing off of them and able to double team a Julius. So let's pull them out. Let's get a point guard that can get us assists but can also score. Let's get a wing who can score. All right? And let's put them around Julius. Let's see if we could build this thing around Julius and see where it goes. And it went into the tank. It went into the toilet. It bubbled. It circled. It got clogged for a moment. We had to plunge that thing, and then it went down. That's how the season went. So they thought it would be an additional step in year 2, but it wasn't. And we struggled that season. But that season was important because you need to see how players respond under adversity. You needed to see how players respond under adversity. And it was a real challenging season for Julius Randle and the whole New York Knicks team. Nobody enjoys losing. Nobody enjoys the highs of the high in New York, and then you have to endure the lowest of the lows when you lose. Nobody enjoys that. So that was year 2. And Tom Thibodeau was being looked at as, okay, this is your challenge now. Are you a winning coach or are you a losing coach? So we had to endure that season and see what we can pull from that season, what positives we could possibly pull, and what are we going to do going into year 3? Is Julius the right fit for us? He's imploded several times. He's contentious with teammates and the fans. Do we keep him? Or do we stick to the plan? Do we plan the work and work the plan? So we know that the changes the New York Knicks made, they kept Julius. And they said, you know what? Actually, they became pretty close. What should we do? Should we keep him? Or should we move forward and get somebody else? Should we start Obi? So year 3 is a time where we say, okay, we want to add a piece. And this is why I said in the summertime that we needed a signature move. Okay? So part of the 5-year plan, when you started putting this team together, it was the perfect time for the New York Knicks to go through all of these changes. And this is why when you're talking about looking for a new coach now, I'm like, what are y'all talking about? That's going to set us back like 2 or 3 years. When we had to do that rebuild of getting a new front office and getting a new coach and sending veterans off and drafting and building the young players, the timing has to be right. And for us, it was perfect because the league was being dominated by players such as KD and Kyrie, by players such as the Golden State Warriors, had an MMA chokehold on the NBA. So whether or not we thought we would be competitive, we're not beating those teams. Those are some of the things we had to be concerned about. So it was a perfect time for the New York Knicks to go through all the changes that they would have to go through in order to at least reset and start to build a solid foundation and build the house upward. Golden State Warriors were dominant. There was no way you were getting around them. And this man here has been doing what he's been doing for 20 years. So I always said, when we brought in the play, I'm like, man, we have a new front office and Tom Thibodeau. If we don't fire the coach for the first time in like 30 years, if we just stick with a coach and see how it feels to have stability in an organization, trust me, I've led organizations. And the biggest thing you will hear from your employees is that turnover is high. People are not satisfied. People think they're going to get the axe. But what happens when you have a leader that comes in and stabilizes the market, where people are secure? They're still working hard, but they're secure. That the moment they struggle, they're not going to be given the axe. You see how it affects Obi. When Obi gets minutes in the game and he makes a mistake, and then his eyes dart towards the sideline. Well, that's the same thing that happens as an organization. When you hit a little bit of speed bump in the road and then the fan base is ready to give you the axe, you guys are just as, all of you are little James Dolans. That's what you are. Basically, you little Jim Dolans. Were you ready to kick all the Oakleys out because they disagree with you or they do something different? But this is what stability looks like. And when we hired him and they gave him a 5-year contract, I said, look, that's perfect. I see what you're doing. You're giving him 5 years, which means he must have came in and laid out a 5-year plan. And if he's a coach and he's smart, he'd be like, listen, I want a no-fire rule. If players could get no trade clauses, I want a no-fire clause. Give me 5 years to turn this around and evaluate me in the 5th year. And let me go if I can't do what it is that I said I'm going to do each year. Year number 1, give me an opportunity to come in, evaluate what we have, work with these players, talk to these players, hear where their heads are at, and determine if they're part of the core. And little by little, they was giving us hints. Both Tom Thibodeau and the front office, they said, you know what? We think in terms of cornerstones, Mitchell Robinson and RJ Barrett are good cornerstones. And they're right. Because there was the defensive center with the level of athleticism and bounciness that Mitch brought to the table in the Tom Thibodeau coach team, it was rare. Okay, he got the goods. Tibbs, can you chip that away and chisel that to make it what it is you need? Bet. RJ Barrett, you got a 3 who has an ability to score. Tibbs, can you mold? Can you? Is he malleable enough? Can you create a Jimmy Butler into that with that player? What can you do with him? Cornerstones that are already in-house.